Hey YouTube, this is the Art of Prepping. I'm just going to follow up on the last video and maybe add a few more points and delve a little bit deeper into to the thought of why the terror list and the no-fly list and all these other secret lists are a bad idea, and they're certainly not something that we consider constitutional, for one. But with that being said, they are, as I just said, secret list. And when there's secret things going on in the government, there's typically less oversight. There's less ability to appeal. There's a less ability to even know the whole truth and the full scope of what's going on. So that's a problem. Number two, we have the unknown criteria of how you get on the list. Why were you put on the list? And it's problematic, because if you don't know how you get on the list, you don't know if you were on the list, especially because you're not notified that you're on the list or not from the beginning when you're put on the list. So that falls into the unknown person or groups that determine who goes on the list. We don't know who they are. We have an idea what probably agency or part of government does that, but we don't know. We don't know their biases and so forth, or their agenda. Going back to the no notification, it's not like you get a slip in the mail saying, "Oh, congratulations, you're on the no-fly list. Just be sure not to fly at all, because you're going to be denied." People only find out when they're trying to board the plane or try to buy their ticket, or all these nonsense things. It's just it just goes to the point that there's no ability to confront the accuser. There's no way to defend your name or freedom. There's no way to, in some cases, to even clear it. And this falls into the limited or non-existent due process. You know, if you're going to be accused of something and then basically treat as if you committed a crime, then you need to have the ability to confront them. And there needs to be a process, and there's not. You're just determined by a secret group that you're a threat, and that's that. And these freedoms that are taken from you are done on the case, as we were just saying, that based on no crimes at all. It's just the potential or someone's ideology that you're going to be a criminal or a terrorist, or you're going to do something bad, but you haven't done it. It's like pre-crime almost, you know, going back to the Minority Report movie. Massive amounts of errors. Now this is the real kicker right here. We have senators. We have military veterans that are now commercial pilots with spotless records, that have license to carry a firearm on the plane, especially when they go overseas for safety and security. These people are on some of these lists. That's how many errors. And in some cases, they still have never been able to get off, even if they've gone through whatever small or arbitrary means of protocol to reverse this process, to challenge it, to try to appeal it. They're on the list. In some cases, just by having the same name as a terrorist, has been found out that, you know, everybody with the same name of a suspected person is triggered in the process. It can be that generic. And of course, we know there's been countless children that are on the list. Some of them extremely young. Some of them so young that they're not even able to commit a crime, and they're terrorists, or they're considered very highly suspicious. So with all this being said, you know, from those who have the information or the ability, and I would imagine it's upper people, maybe even some senators and stuff that have looked into this, there's well over 1 million people on these lists, terror watch lists and no-fly list. This is pretty amazing, you know, that a third of 1% roughly or so of the population's on the list or on some list. And the best estimates is that there's probably not maybe even 1 out of 10 that should be on some type of monitored program of the government or on some type of list. And even then, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're due some due process. You should be notified. You should have a way to appeal this. This is the scam. This is the thing that if this can continue, and they can just at random, people secretively can just say you're a threat just because they say that. They can start pulling freedoms when you're not even committed of a crime. This is the slippery slope we have with the large government that does things behind the scenes. This is the way to take away your Second Amendment right, your First Amendment. All these things are building. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights apparently does not mean diddly squat when you have government, in a lot of cases, rogue government groups and organizations, probably with interdepartmental, agencies and groups and departments. Probably some of them are very compartmentalized. They don't even really have much accountability, if any. And they're able to just run rampant and manipulate people's lives based on unknown factors to the victim. So just wanted to put this out there. I'm sure there's many other points and probably some that are much better than what I just said, but these are the things that I've come up with. This is just another reason of why your government, at least in the United States at this point, is not to be trusted. They can't even regulate themselves, but yet they want to regulate us. And it doesn't take a lot of research to know that they commit heinous crimes. They promote terrorism, not fight terrorism. And they're behind a lot of false flags, over the world, over history. And while there's a lot of good people in the United States and a lot of good people in the military, there are a group of people in the government that aren't so good, and they have their own agenda, and they don't care if people die or not, because their agenda is all that matters. And that particular agenda is what we need to be concerned of, because it seems to me that it's a liberal mentality. It's a movement toward the breakdown of the American way of life. And if we don't like our freedoms and things, that's a problem. Because if we don't appreciate what we have now, and we have it pretty well, even though things are being stripped from us left and right, and we're constantly under a siege of attacks to just constantly just try to maintain what level of freedom we have now. If we think this is a bad thing to have these freedoms, we're going to have a wake up session in the near future, because when we do wake up and we realize we can't do X, Y, and Z, or we can't speak our mind anymore because we were complacent and we just kind of went along, then we're going to have a lot of regrets. A lot of this may be out of our control. At least the average citizenry may not be able to control a lot of this. I don't know how much the voting booth actually is legitimate. There's probably a ton of fraud there as well. But what I can tell you is that what we can do is talk about this outwardly, get it out in the open, point fingers at the groups, and show the insanity of this, show the breakdown as it is going on. Because at the very least, we have the responsibility for our children and our future generations to be aware of what's going on and to point out these deficiencies, because eventually these are going to get so out of control, and the breakdown of civilization, or at least the social contract as it is with America now, will be so broken down in the near future that we won't have recourses that we do now. Thanks for listening.